Let's see. Okay, we're live. Do you see that we're live on your end?
Looks the same to me, but I got you. Yeah, I think it does say we're live.
Okay. All right, you guys. So we are doing. I'm in Seattle, Washington, or just north of. And Brett, where are you out of?
New York City.
Nationwide, baby.
Yep.
So
Nationwide.
So we have Brett is joining us, and we're kind of doing a little bit of a later stream tonight. And first and foremost, before I begin, I have to get in the habit of asking people to head over to my Patreon and subscribe there. I think I got 11 subscribers, and I love every single one of you. And I'm growing my subscriber base there. Everybody at a $20 level on the Patreon, we get access to a 2-hour interactive Zoom call with me and an expert for that month, a special guest. And I invite you to go over there and check it out. Here, let me do a little banner here, a little ticker. Patreon.com/BowWowBills. So hope to see you. Join me there. If you get value from these live streams, I want to take it to the next level. And I can't wait to go to Manhattan, where my man is, you know. And you were just telling me how many dogs are in in Manhattan?
We got more dogs per square foot than anywhere else in the world. And buildings go vertical. So, you got a building that's, anywhere between, 30 to 40 stories. You got at least 10 dogs a floor. That's just one building.
So wild, man. So wild.
It's crazy. You can't, even on 4th of July, when I was walking around, there was dogs everywhere. Couldn't even believe it.
Well, and it's crazy because we can't control the world. You know what I'm saying? We can train our dogs, but we can't control the world. And I can imagine that you see some pretty crazy stuff like that are like you're in a 100% human world. Before we do anything, man, why don't you give everybody an introduction of who you are, where you're located, and what you do, and then while you do that, I'm going to share this, okay? And then you should be able to share it too.
Sounds good. I have no idea how to share it, but
go to Facebook, and then so I'll share it to my personal page, and then I'll tag you in it.
Okay, yeah, do that. That works.
And then you can share it, because I want people that are fans of yours to join us live. And you guys share it too if you're watching this right now. Even if you're watching it after the fact, hit the share button if you don't mind.
Got it.
All right, so, what are you all about, Brett?
Let's see. So I'm a pet dog trainer. I feel like I work with extreme dogs in extreme environments. So I don't really do obedience. I pretty much just make sad dogs happy. That's pretty much, if we're going to simplify it, sad dogs happy. And that's pretty much it. Puppies and sad dogs. If you want a dog to do circles around you and, little tricks and stuff like that. And even a downstay from a distance, we could do that, but that's not really, you could hire somebody better than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not your forte. Is more about just a behavioral response. Sad dogs happy, and what does that mean to you? What is that? Can you?
Well, you got dogs that are having different emotions. Some are fear, panic, rage. And my goal is to just make them feel better. Here's the deal. If I could get a dog to feel better, everything else usually falls into place. That's pretty much it. So people overcomplicate. And yeah, it could be overcomplicated, especially over here. But the bottom line is, I walk into homes and we figure out how we're going to make this dog feel better.
Denise says, I'm right outside Manhattan. We're in trouble. I would love to come visit. So
sounds good, Denise.
Yeah, Denise is awesome. And Ronnie's on YouTube buffering. I love it. And we're streaming right now to Facebook. So I just shared it to my personal page, and then I'll tag you in it, Brett.
Sounds good.
And then, so what got you started working in this? Well, let's talk about sad dogs, happy dogs first. So what does that mean to you?
So basically, and this is anybody who works with dogs in Manhattan, you understand these dogs, it's tough on them. It's not the best place for a dog to live. Okay. Number one, once a dog turns 7, they become more sensitive to sight and sound. So we're getting a lot of older dogs that are experiencing fear systems, right? So we got to make them. Then, then you got the dogs that are 7 and 8 months that hormones are kicking in. They want a piece of the environment. So what happens? Frustration.
Okay.
Right? Because we got a leash holding back. Then you got the dogs that really don't want anybody in their space, but from store to curb, you got less than 10 feet. You know what I mean? So we can't control distance. And what happens is when a dog gets frustrated or a dog gets fearful, right? The neural pathway in the brain travels to that specific emotional system. The more it travels to that emotional system, the more it's going to travel to that emotional system. So we're going to travel to frustration or fear 16 to 20 times a day. And then if we're home, it doesn't get much better because we hear things in the hallway. So making sad dogs happy, dogs are just living a frustrated life and just anticipating what's next. Like, if they're not feeling fear at the moment, they're anticipating it. You know what I mean? So the goal is to make them happy. That's what I do. And a lot of times it's counterintuitive. It doesn't exactly make us happy. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, a lot of times, people don't realize that. This is a different species. Like I have to remind them, and frustrated greeters as well. That's what Denise says. And we have to also remember too that as and I think that this is just a fundamental misintroduction of dogs in the human world, and especially in an urban environment like Manhattan, right? Because there's so many things that are, just that the dog needs a proper introduction to, from saturation of people, from the many different contraptions that are rolling around, from the different noises, the different weather like systems that come through there. All that stuff is a factor, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. When we with the puppies I work with, when we go through, I guess, the critical socialization period and, that whole window where we're exposing the dog, we don't really do any obedience at all. Everything is conditioning because we don't have enough calories to condition as much as we need to. You know what I mean? We need to condition, not only just condition the basic things like a crate, trimming, condition touch, but we need to condition relaxation in every environment possible. So we got to go down to the subway. We got to go out in the street. We got to go. The one thing I forgot about with my dog was Saga couldn't handle quiet areas. When I took Saga to Jersey, she was like freaking out. She didn't know what to do. She was crying. I'm like, and I was like, it's Jersey. There's grass, there's trees. But, if the dog doesn't experience that, because we live in Manhattan, I have a bus stop I live on Broadway. I have a bus stop right in front of my building. So when all of a sudden it just drops, it's, you have to condition that as well,
And what do you, and people have to remember too, like as dogs go along and like Brett was saying with the sad dogs, like over every single day, and those areas of the brain, they get hit every day, and it causes that super highway to form, right? Where this becomes pretty established behavior, because that's all that they've known and that's all that they've experienced. And so when people are finally fed up, or whenever the dog is fed up and becomes reactive, I assume that's when you get called, right?
Yeah. Well, the good news, unlike suburban areas, we'll get called quicker because they got to go through the hallway and share an elevator. You know what I mean? And they're like, if I can't do this. So sometimes we'll get called quicker. If we don't get called quicker, the dog usually doesn't go out much. You know what I mean? And they're living a horrible life. And then they're like, all right, we got to call somebody. But yeah, that's real. That's what it is. So then we get called, and the programs of working in a suburban environment, which is a little different than working here. We start in the home. Then when we've mastered everything in the home, we master the hallway. We're outside is just management. I got to tell them, listen, We have management strategies for outside, but we're not even near there. So every time we go outside, there's management strategies that we've rehearsed inside. Once we do the hallway, then we do the foyer. We got it, and the foyer is like big. It's like, 'cause that's when people are really coming in and out and they can see it. But the good news is once we get the foyer and we're about to go outside, we've already eliminated 3 layers of stress going out the front door, going down the hallway, and going in the foyer. So now that we go outside, the dog is so much more relaxed, so we have a better shot.
Huge. And a little bit receptive, right? Instead of the guarded,
Absolutely.
guarded, we're like, hey, I'm opening up, open. And do you know what though, dude? I'm guarded and I'm managing myself on the streets of Manhattan. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. You know what I mean? So, we have to, dogs make 2 choices in their life, right? Seek pleasure, avoid discomfort.
That's right.
They need to really view their human, their owner, whatever you want to call it, dog dad, as the person that provides pleasure and alleviates discomfort.
Survival and Comfort by Calvin Wilbon.
I love it.
Dude, you got to read this book, man. And
I
we're actually working on, with Calvin, you guys, a little package for trainers where we give you like 20, 30 of these books just to hand out to your clients for minimal cost, just because it's like succinct and explaining exactly what Brett's saying, because it's the truth, right? And so the dog has to view the owner as the source of comfort and as that guarantees survival.
So what I do with all my clients, I have them email me. I said, I want a list of everything your dog loves and everything your dog finds uncomfortable. We look at that list together, and most of the time they leave out the things we cause to create discomfort to the dog. Like, don't forget the discomfort we create, whether we're like, get off that, hey, or we're fighting with a leash, which way to go. There's a million things the dog may find uncomfortable, or
we're fighting with our spouse, or we're fighting with our kids.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I make sure we take a week. We really focus on 1 week, 7 days, where we provide pleasure and alleviate discomfort. Once we do that, we get a better relationship, because, and the problem is if I'm always fighting with you, then the day I disagree with you, it doesn't mean anything. We're always fighting. But if I agree with you for a whole week, and then the next day, one day I got to be like, hey, it's like a little more, what's going on? This is interesting. So I don't like to add, the one thing part of my model, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, I don't want to add stress to stress. If I'm going to add stress, I make sure you're nice and comfortable and everything's butterflies and sunshine first. You know what I mean? But I make sure I do not add stress on stress, if that makes sense.
It does, man. And I'm thinking of this quote, Woodrow Wilson. It's basically how you approach a situation. And let me see if I can find it. It's about, if you approach the situation with your fist balled, then I can guarantee you that mine will ball up just as fast. And I'm just paraphrasing this, but if we find the things, if we come together in mutual agreement to find the things that we have in common, we're going to find that is many, and our differences are few. And if we focus on the things that we have in common, or build that relationships when our differences come about, they're so much easier to solve and to repair because of that, that relationship. Right.
That's exactly it. Makes
and
so
that's
much
so much like, so we have to switch how we approach the relationship with that dog, and we have to switch our reaction too, right? A lot of times we have to be aware of ourselves and our behavior first and foremost, and then we work on that animal, is essentially what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us fixing our behavior is a lot of a lot of people, including trainers, I hate to say it, but a lot of us just don't understand dogs. We don't understand. If I asked, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody or whatever, I'm not challenging, but if I asked 10 trainers, why does the behavior happen? I guarantee many of them won't know. Why does the behavior happen? Where does it come from? What is it? Because it's all going to come down to, self-preservation, the central
Survival.
nervous system having a reflexive response. Do we know it's a reflexive response? Do we know that most of these behaviors are reflexive? It's not operant. And then if we know it's reflexive, why does it keep happening? Well, it's trying to bring the central nervous system back to homeostasis. So if I lunge, bite, growl, and all of a sudden you create space, that behavior brought me back to homeostasis. I feel good. It's going to become a reflexive response. Once we understand things like that, it's so much easier to realize, oh, you know what? I have to handle this differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and what I tell people is that the number one mistake that we do, and my clients are all guilty of it, and I was guilty of it too. And even to be truthful, I'm guilty of it even to this day because it's natural for us to do it as human beings. And that's to anthropomorphize the dog or to put our own characteristics upon the animal because it makes it easier for us to understand something if we can overlay our perception on it. Does that make sense, Brett?
It does.
Right?
I think there's times to anthropomorphize and there's times not to. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I talk about all the time, which is really important with fear and reactivity, spatial boundaries brings clarity to social awareness. I say this all the time. Spatial boundaries brings clarity to social awareness. This is with dogs and people. People walk over dogs and just invade them. What if I walked in a bar and invaded somebody like that? That would not go over well. I could get in trouble just for saying that. You know what I mean? But the thing is, if I walk into my client and I come over and I give them a hug, they're going to be like, oh, God, he's really awkward. I hope he could train a dog. Because obviously that the spatial boundaries that I didn't understand, that I didn't respect, made me socially awkward. So when dogs and humans have spatial boundaries, and we understand that, it brings a lot more clarity to social awareness. Where is everybody? How should I respond? You get spatial boundaries. A dog ain't gonna nip you. A dog ain't gonna bite you. You guys have, and that goes both ways. My clients, they don't get to touch their dog unless for a certain amount of time, unless their dog gives consent. We teach consent.
Wow.
You know how often a dog doesn't give consent? It's crazy.
They're just doing their thing. And I tell them, watch dogs, watch mama dog, watch how much that dog's, touching that other dog, right? And they do, but it's not as much. And then they have a realization. I can see it. They're like, oh, right. Yeah. And it's not about the dog at that point. It becomes about the human being, right? And then I challenge them. I'm like, how about if you don't touch your dog for a week? They shudder, dude. They shudder. They're like, there's no way in hell. I'm like, why don't we start 24 hours? Just don't touch your dog. And even that they have a hard time with sometimes.
I was doing 3 days for a while. Well, if it's a fearful dog, don't touch that dog. Don't you know why? Because I don't want to provide any social pressure. Social pressure, even having an expectation for a dog. You reach out to a dog, I don't know what's happening. So what I do is I give them 3 times a day where they can sit on the floor, invite the dog over in a low arousal state. And if the dog comes over, wait, you could, don't use your hands. Don't use your hands. And I tell them brush your shoulder, this and that, put your hands on the floor, whatever. And when the dog rolls into you, then you can give all that affection and love and kisses and everything. But we really, really go into consent. And I'll tell you something, it changes relationships,
Well, it allows people to wait and be present in that moment as well.
Absolutely.
And let that moment kind of unfold organically. And I think especially with these, these push button devices that we have, and there's my
there you go.
But that we are instant gratification machines. Like we kind of push and control situations a lot of times to the detriment of that dog because of the consent isn't there yet. And sometimes it just takes that time to unfold. And people don't realize that there's feral dogs that I've worked with that I've never touched.
Oh,
I've worked with them for years. It's not just an overnight thing. Like I've never touched, and I never will. They're in heaven. I never touched that dog except for when they passed on. But that was it. That dog did not consent, and they consented to tolerating me in the space. But us touching them would have been a huge violation of their boundaries, and I had to respect that because they trusted me to a point.
Well, touches for us, it's not for the dogs. You know what I mean? So when we touch a dog and we actually are giving a dog affection and we getting all those hormone releases and we feel good and we're staying young to a dog, it's more associated with grooming. And to us, it's more associated with affection.
That's
right.
right.
So it's completely different, so it's we just have to understand that it is not the same. Dogs will an affection to a dog is more just them enjoying a moment with you. I feel like it's more low arousal play. I don't even consider it high arousal play, like tug, fetch. You know why? Because a dog could still be fearful and chase a ball. A dog could still be frustrated and try to rip a toy from your hand.
Yes.
A dog cannot play with you in low arousal state unless it feels good.
Okay.
So,
and unless
again, I'm sure everybody's, anybody can think what they want. This is how I feel about it.
Billy says expression of an underlying emotion response to environmental stimuli. That's basically what you're saying is spatial boundaries brings about, spatial awareness, right? Expression of underlying emotional responses to environmental stimuli is it, and being able to recognize that and not to overlook that. And just like you were saying, like if you walked into your client's house and tried to kiss their wife or, it boils down to there's an etiquette that we expect and there's an etiquette that we need to translate to that dog. But some dogs are going to be much more social than others, and some dogs are going to be much more willing to participate, and we need to be advocates, right? That's a big word that we need to be as stewards of these animals, is to look out for their emotional well-beings and be advocates for their emotional wellness. And that takes, how do you talk to your clients about body language and how to read the dogs, and do you talk about that, or like the head location, tail, ears, stiffness?
What I do, we pretty much, the main things we go over is identify the signs of stress, how to identify if you're, and the problem is with emotions, they're hard to measure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Fast panting, a spatula tongue.
Exactly.
Like
I'll even get to the point where the mouth, sometimes you can see a C or a V. A V is not good. A C is good. If you look at where the mouth is, when they get tense and stressed out, it's going to start turning into more of a V.
Okay.
So that's
a V, dude. I've never heard that. Wild.
Yeah. But
it makes perfect sense to me, man, because that mouth, when it's nice and relaxed, all those muscles are totally open and relaxed, right? But when they're on guard, we're a little bit, because that's like their weapon. That's their only means of defense.
That's the business end, right? So yeah, we talk about that. We talk about a lot of the freeze, the ears come back, the lip licks, things that they can spot very, very easily, but again, we first week, it's all about making the dog feel good. You know what I mean? So we're keeping a close eye on the dog. Like everything's about the dog that first week. And at the same time, when I mean about the dog, it's more about existing with the dog and managing everything. So I'll have the dog tethered to somebody or in a crate around the clock, just because, well, again, people may disagree, but here's the deal. In New York City, what happens when we grab the leash? Dog's going to get aroused.
That's right.
Maybe stress. If I can't agree with you on a leash inside my apartment, how am I going to agree with you? If I can't agree with you on a leash when it doesn't matter, how am I going to agree with you when it does matter? So we tether them to the leash. Not only that, but the leash also makes sure that we are existing with each other and we are respecting our spatial boundaries. If that dog invades that person without that person consenting and saying, come over, whatever, straight arm, keep that dog away from you. I mean mean about it, but no, that dog needs to learn you do not invade anybody's space without consent, and I'm not going to invade you without consent. Now that we have a consensual relationship, we could do things. It just makes
it boils down to trust. Now that we have trust, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
now we have that consensual relationship.
It's literally what builds trust. I got a golden doodle
Consent
right
builds
now.
trust. You know, I'm going to
What's
look
that?
at them. Well, consent, when you
Consent
consent,
builds trust.
builds trust.
Absolutely.
That's what I was just repeating. Yeah, I want to look at the root
Yeah.
of consent definition. I'm just a weirdo with the words. Permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. And con is together, right? Like congress, congrene,
Yep.
congregate. Excuse me. And then interesting, you guys. So come together, and a centire here. Let's actually wonder if I can just show this, because I think it's pretty cool. I love this. Is why I do this stuff, you guys, is because I love to look at the meanings and the roots of the words. So we have consent, and I know it's really small, but if you look down here where my arrow is, the root of here. I wonder if I can blow that up. Does that get big? No.
Together
is but look at
feel.
centire. Feel. Right? And what were we talking about? Emotional awareness and trust.
Yep.
And the root of consent is coming together to feel. Essential.
Yep. Informed consent. Permission granted for the knowledge of possible consequences, typically given by a patient or a doctor. So,
Yep. So that's informed for
yes.
another phrase of that. Agree to do something, right? So go ahead, Brett.
Yeah. So I mean, the bottom line is, what originally brought this up was, just talking about times to anthropomorphize and times not to. And when it comes to anthropomorphizing, I will anthropomorphize when it comes to spatial boundaries, because I think that's the part when we don't anthropomorphize, when we don't sit here and say, how would you like if somebody came up and touched your face?
Great point.
So,
blowing my mind.
And again, there's certain things we should, and there's certain things we shouldn't. And I think spatial boundaries, there is no program in dog training when it comes to behavior mod where you are not going to want to incorporate spatial boundaries for, so the dog can have more clarity to social awareness. There's no, there's nothing.
It's basically what exists in our physical world. I mean, and it's how dogs communicate with space, touch, and tone, right? And some volume, but mostly space, touch, and tone. I mean, that's that body language too, right? Space, body language, and touch and tone, right? And so, but it's something that, like, I mean, even Brett and I, we were just talking. That's how we opened up the podcast today. Nationwide, baby. Look at the space between us, a whole nation, right? And so even like face to face or nationwide across the world, space is a huge variable in just our 3D existence. Right. And the dog is not different from that, because the dog belongs in the physical realm with us. But they are not us, and we need to understand aspects of that dog's mind. Like when we start to get into knowing how to become the dog, or stop the anthropomorphication, but instead, what I encourage people to do is to look through the dog's eyes. Let's see the world through the dog's eyes by proxy, right? So to speak.
Yep.
And to essentially kind of become the dog. And I'll encourage them to watch. I definitely encourage them to read my man's books, Calvin's book, Shouting You Out. My dude. Yeah, it's an awesome book. But what I also encourage them to do is watch like doggy documentaries or wolf documentaries, and just kind of look at, like, how do they engage? How do they interact? How quickly do they go? And dude, I love that the two things that I've definitely learned tonight is the V and the C, and then the anthropomorphication of the space advocate, right? Because, like, how would you feel if somebody approached you like this? And that makes sense of when you want to anthropomorphize your dog, right? To put yourself in their perspective.
There's there's situations you can, and then there's situations we just gotta not, you know what I mean? But there's a like I said, there's a healthy balance of it, you know what I mean, of when to and when not to. I think people need to, they just like you said, they just need to see the world through their dog's eyes, And if we start understanding the dogs better, we'll probably change our approach as pet owners and dog trainers. I argue with people all the time, about just how to help dogs, and not argue, but we debate.
Yeah.
And, and the thing is and the one biggest topic that I think is so controversial is corrections and punishment. And it's like, I have no issues. Hold on. My goal is to make a dog feel better. Sad dog's happy. And then I'm going to sit here and say, I have no issues punishing or correcting a dog if it provides a more enriched life for the dog and owner.
Boom.
So if I sit here and correct or punish a dog, for me, again, everybody, if somebody could do that and get the same goal, then they're better than me. That's fine. It takes skill. If I'm going to correct and punish a dog, I need to measure that and say, is this going to provide the dog a more enriched life? And I need to weigh the consequences.
It's a cost benefit scenario, dude. What are the costs? What are the benefits? And if the benefits outweigh the costs, then we got a freaking good deal here.
That's it. You know what I mean? But we have to. I think when we sit here and do things, if you're going to punish a dog, and I may get flack for this, most of us under punish and under correct, and there's no clarity. So we just build frustration. Because why? Because we love the dog and we don't want to be mean, right? But if you're going to punish a dog, then you need to understand that's going to be aversive, and there needs to be clarity. So you have to do something. And when I say punish, I don't mean pop. Get more creative than that, right? If a leash,
let the dog punish themselves.
Yeah, or something like that.
Set up the scenario where the dog is like, "Whoa, I don't want to do that ever again, man."
I'll tell you a story where I had to punish a dog, right? And I had to explain to the owners the consequence. Dog jumped through a window twice. It was in a suburban area, Westchester, and there's the couch, and behind the couch is the window, and behind that window is the street and the sidewalk. Dog's so reactive that it jumped through. Husky, right? Jumped through the window twice.
Damn.
Okay, horrible.
Freaking huskies.
So yeah. So now here's the deal. Simple answer, right? When we're not home, put the dog in a crate, right? But if anybody knows a husky, they're not the easiest dogs to crate train, right? So this dog, I was the third or fourth trainer. Nobody was able to crate train a dog. There was tethering. It was this, it was that. So it was just getting ridiculous. So what did we do? If we could keep the dog off the couch, then the window is an option because the dog can't see out the window. So we put underneath the couch, we put mouse traps on top of a towel. As soon as the dog stepped on the towel to jump on the couch, they all went off underneath the couch. Guess what? This was about, I don't know maybe 8 months ago. Everything's been great. No issues. Thank God, right?
That's right.
But what could have happened? That dog may have never walked on a towel again in its life. Or maybe it could have had an adverse effect to the couches. Or there's so many things that, because
superstition, right?
Yeah, see, exactly. With punishment, it's not as calculated as a reward. A reward is going to spike dopamine, the anticipation of it, something good every time. A punishment, that could create a fear response. It could create a frustrated response. It could create we don't even know. But it's a calculated risk that at some times, if we think that we're going to take this risk to provide this dog a better life, the dog doesn't have to be in the crate anymore, and it's fine. You know what I mean? It's just that, and it's barrier aggression. It's the window. Because outside, it's not even reactive. It's fine. It's just a damn window.
Well, so, and if you don't think that jumping through a window, is not potentially dangerous, then I don't, will kill a dog very easily, man. Like it'll cut the femoral arteries, a dog bleed out in less than 3-4 minutes.
Without question. So that's it. So, that's not my go-to. But so the argument I have with a lot of people is people just cracking their dogs every day.
Hey, Martha. Chrissy Wilson's mom. Fantastic. God bless her. God bless Chrissy. Always in my heart. So, sorry, dude. I just saw this person come out and join us. Very special.
No, man, absolutely. You got to follow it, man. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. But the thing is, dude, is that I just love talking to people, and it's not really for my following, it's for me because I'm learning this stuff, man. Like even working with dogs every single day and working them, like this is what the value of coming together and just chatting to people about what they do. I mean, and mouse traps with the towel. I would have put the mouse traps all over that freaking couch.
Well, yeah, but that's you know,
and then the
and
dog
that's
would have
great.
ran off because then he would have had a trap stuck on his paw, maybe on his tail, and then they would have flipped the fuck out. And then not only that, then we would have had a whole other problem,
We try to do it as safe as possible. We try to make sure we were not near the couch, so it wasn't associated with us,
Right.
and we let the dog. A singular learning event. It is, it is.
That is a proper correction. Right. And people think that a correction, like and I agree, a correction needs to be emphatic. A correction needs to show a boundary. A consequence does not want to be repeated. And if you're doing negging corrections, dude, all that's doing is making your dog tougher and pissing them off. Right.
And it's ruining your relationship.
It's ruining your relationship. That's why it's pissing them off. It's like, dude, what? Imagine just you had a friend that was freaking hitting you like every few minutes. And it's like, dude, chill.
Who wants that? Who wants that? People get divorces over less than that. You know what I mean?
Who wants that? I'm sure there's somebody out there, dude. Like there's people out there that probably want that shit. Go find them. Yeah. Go find them, but not a dog. A dog doesn't want that. And so spatial boundaries.
Spatial boundaries brings clarity to social awareness.
And then what do you start to do? You start to bring, so you have the leash connected and the crate training for a week, right?
Well, no, so for that, I'll do they'll be tethered. No, they'll be tethered for about a week or two. But for the first week, they are only allowing they're going to invite their dog over to them 3 times a day.
Oh, that's right, and consent.
With consent. 2 of those times is before the meal, because I don't know, there's a scientific name for it, but if you play with your dog, right, and then train your dog, it actually builds a stronger connection for everything. So one of the things I recommend is play with the dog, train a dog, then crate the dog, for some latent learning practice, but yeah, it's so 2 of the times that they can touch their dog or invite the dog over is right before they work the dog for the meal or they do some type of training, and then another time is like in the morning or at night before bed or whatever you want to do, but keep it consensual.
Well, and not only that, but we actually in NAPOPO and other working philosophies, we actually make that dog push. And we don't touch them, we don't do anything until they're like, touch me, pay me, like push me, dude. Like I want, and that's actually, we want that enthusiasm, we want that confidence, we want that dog to know, hey, look, it's okay to push this guy when I have done a job well done. I deserve to be compensated, right? And that's and then that's where it's like, pay me. Bart says, pay me, fucker. That's what he's just like. That's what he wants the dog to do. Come on, I did it. Pay me. And then but that makes sense. That is important, but also it teaches our clients too a little bit of how to read that body language and how to read that open receptivity and that calmness, right? Because I don't know where the hell in people world we got that a crazy manic dog bouncing off the wall. That's the only happy dog. And dog lounging, all my dogs are here are all sad. Where you actually, so is that sad dog? Are these dogs lounging sad? People see my dog and be like, oh my God, he looks so sad. And I'll look over at him like, Jiminy Christmas, man. I'm like, that's a calm. Where their dog's just really keyed up and I'm like, no, that's a calm dog. That's what I want, a calm, confident dog that I can take anywhere. And I've traveled all around America with one of my dogs, and I love it.
If you could teach your dog to be calm, this is what I tell people in New York City. People want all these leash walking tips. Teach your dog to calm down. All of a sudden, everything falls together. You know what I mean? Why is the dog pulling a leash? It could be stress. Teach him to calm down. He's overaroused. Teach him to calm down. He can't control his overstimulate. Teach him to calm down. So and then then it's just easy. You know, but yeah, like you said, you got some calm dogs. That's that's money. That's perfect. You know what I mean? Just condition relaxation. Teach an off switch.
So what do people say when I can't calm my dog? How do I calm my dog? What do you start? How do you start that process?
Well, what do they need to call the dog for? The dog's tethered.
Calm.
You know,
Oh,
what's
what?
up?
Calm the dog.
Oh, calm the dog. Oh, no, no,
Like
no.
the
We have
dog. Like what do you?
so basically, usually during the first 7 days, we eliminate all social pressure. So we're not even working the dog for the food, right? We're doing a lot of biological fulfillment. We're doing scent work. We're having the dog hunt for its food over, under, and through things. You know, we're doing that kind of thing. But it's all about just existing with the dog and managing the dog. Week 2 or phase 2, whatever, you know, that's the condition relaxation phase. So we'll do certain management techniques. You know, you ever put food in your fist,
Oh
and
yeah.
and your dog tries to get it, tries to get it, tries to get it, tries to get it, and you don't say anything. You just keep your fist there, and all of a sudden the dog just relaxes, and bam, you give him the food. What if 3 times a day I took raw sirloin, put it in my fist? How fast do you think that dog's going to relax in day 2? I know what to do. Did we tell him to? No. The dog was frustrated and then regulated its own emotions to get what it wants. Now we have a fist that just became an emotional condition response to disengage. I do this with my aggressive dog owners for 3 weeks before we even get there. I walk in the apartment, I make a fist, the dog relaxes every time. And it's like they're like that was amazing. I'm like, I know. It was so cool.
But a dog, but that's self-regulate, right? And
Yeah,
it's
they're
like,
regulating their own emotions. You're not going to tell it. Who's going to tell a dog calm down? Watch people tell calm down, calm down. What happens? You end up popping a leash.
oh,
That
they
doesn't
get
calm
more
down.
fired up. And I tell
Yeah,
people, you know, can I get inside your head and calm you down? Right? It's
exactly,
impossible, right? So it's the same thing for that
exactly.
dog. And people don't realize, like, when I first get a dog, like, I'm not doing board and trains right now, but when I do board and trains, especially for my crazy ass dogs, like, I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, you're tethered for a week. Like, it's literally they get on that tether, and it's a chain, so it looks kind of brutal. Like, if you came out here, you'd think I had like a dog fight. With some of the
Different environment,
scenarios
different
and stuff,
environment.
right? Right, but it's not that at all. It's basically so the dog can't chew through it. But there's also these pet tethers that we can buy that are the metal. I just have old school stuff. Um, and then I also have like this trampoline spring on one of my agitation chains in case I have a really crazy dog that's popping off the chain literally, right? Um,
Okay.
and what I do, man, is I blow glass. And so I'll sit out there, and the crazy thing is that I'm present, but my energy is totally like off in the corner, and so they can get comfort from me being in that same space. But they're losing their mind the first couple days, man.
Yeah.
They're losing their damn mind, and I have a bench over there for them, and some of them are like trying to dig through the bench, you know, just like, and they're trying everything, dude. And if you were to see it, it's pretty, there's a very messy middle sometimes with some of these dogs that have lost their mind with their reactivity. And then I just let them calm. And then once they calm, I look right at them and I just let them see that, dude, that's exactly how to get my attention. And then when I'm blowing glass and they're like I did not, and I'm like, dude, this will zen me out. Like if I can figure out how to blow glass with crazy ass dogs behind me, like I'm golden, man, because I can do it in any situation. And so, and dude, what happened one day is that I look around and everybody's just zonked out, and I was like, this is amazing, you know, because they just reached that point of like, this is not getting me anywhere, and they get frustrated, and then I'll walk over to them, and as soon as I start getting close and they get fired up again, I turn around and walk the other way, right, and let them know, look, dude, you're not gonna get any, like, and let them see, like, as soon as they relax, they're getting good stuff, man. And just like you said, like at the third day, usually they come in,
Yeah.
I tether them, and boom, they start yawning, they start stretching, they start like that, you know, I call it where they start to kind of like open up to processing, open up to change, open up, like you can see that kind of willingness starts to take hold. because everything that they've known in the past has gone out the window, and everything that has gotten them attention, affection, rewards, comfort, big time comfort is not the case here at all. But what is the case is true connection, true rapport, and that's what I really want to build with this dog. But I can't build that with a manic, crazy ass dog. I have to build that with a dog that is calm and open and receptive to that.
Yeah.
Right. And I take advantage of those moments because, like I was saying earlier about becoming that dog by proxy, I know that in the moment, if we reward that dog in that moment, or if we correct the dog in that moment, that's where it has the most valuable influence with that behavior. And so when I can look at that dog, when I can reward that dog in a calm state of mind, and then we start to do it, repetition's the mother of learning. Right. And then you say,
Yep.
raw sirloin, dude, that's like $20,000 in dog money, dude. You
Yeah, I
know,
know. That's what we use.
the kibble is
Absolutely.
like $5, man. A lot of people are like, I'm like, dude, you need to up that compensation package a little bit. We're asking this dog to
Kibble will
really
get
dig
you.
deep.
Kibble will get you nowhere on these streets.
That's
Dog will be like, "What? That doesn't even smell."
dude. I'm like me, dude. Like you think you're gonna have me train your dog for that price? No, just kidding. But that's it, man. Like you're gonna have like a barrier of entry, and dude, when that dog is like, ooh, now you're talking, right? Now you're speaking my language. And do you know what I call it? Negotiation face.
There
I'm
you
like,
go. Then I like that.
we got negotiation face, man. There's our time, because the dog's like, what do I have to do to get what you have right there? Let's talk. Let's negotiate here.
It's funny. So
Excuse me.
yeah, so condition relax, and once we get the dog relaxed, then we can start teaching behaviors. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
what happens if the dog starts to, get fired up or anything? Do you ever do like any place commands or any of that stuff?
I used to with every dog, and then
Right.
now I'm just kind of like, I'm like, I like the other day I was like, a place command would probably help. I just forget to do it so much. It's because here's the deal. I tell a dog to go to place. They're excited. They go. They love it. Now what do? We tell the dog we go duration, distraction, right? So we're teaching the dog to stay there. Now we're creating distractions. A lot of times we could read it wrong and the dog could be able to handle it, but the dog is just, sometimes the dog is like, I want that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to jump off this. And we're like, no, we're like teasing them or whatever it is. I kind of took the route of the more freedom I give the dog, the more decisions the dog make, right? That are good decisions.
Discern.
And
The more the
yes,
dog can discern what's
yeah.
right.
So it gives me an opportunity to reward. If I reward a dog for saying, like, what I'll do instead is I'll sit here. I use a stopwatch timer all the time. And I'll go, good feed, good feed, good feed. Clock. Dog breaks in 15 seconds. Great. Now I'm going to feed every 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds for the next 2 days. Now, next day 3, good feed, good feed, good feed. I'm waiting. Now dog's up to 35 seconds. Good. I'll feed every 30 seconds. I'll do that until I can get up to a minute everywhere. Once I can get up to a minute everywhere, I don't need the dog to relax more than a minute anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like the dog's walking by. We got about 60 seconds. Just relax. You know what I mean? So, and obviously there's some management protocols, but that's because it's New York City and I don't have a chain in the backyard. This is the next way to do it.
I got a huge training facility barn here
Yeah.
that I can fasten them all over, and not only that, but I have 5.5 acres here that I have it.
Well, you got a setup. I don't have a setup. I got Broadway. I got Park Avenue.
Wild. I want to come there, dude. I want to see what you do and
Come through.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you know next time I'm there. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
It's it's just like I said, it's different. And the problem around here is people lose hope fast. they just, they lose hope, and they're just like, I don't know, I can't, Brett, you don't understand. I can't walk my dog. Like, all right, you're not even done with phase one. Let me go back there. We're going to teach you how to walk your dog. Because there's just we can't go through everything. We can't teach dog everything right away. And you could only, dog owners could only take in so much in one session. I don't want to give them too much either. They're going to be lost,
Yeah, I have to focus on certain avenues. And it's like, and they'll ask me a question and be like, okay, I can give you a quick, synopsis of the answer, but we're going to definitely delve into this deeply in the next session. So don't worry about that. And it's good that you're asking me this question, but it's, I've already given you so much information that I want you to focus on for the next week that I don't want to give you too much and make this an overwhelming, thing, because you're already calling me and a lot of times they're calling us to put out a fire. They're calling us for one thing in particular, right? But they don't realize that thing in particular takes a couple steps back to address a few other things, and so that this thing just figures itself out, kind of, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When I say that? Yeah,
absolutely.
And so it's and I don't even know, man. I couldn't even imagine all the noises, and then so I imagine that people are pretty cool with crate training?
Some are, some aren't. The problem is crate training is really difficult because you have neighbors. So the moment you get a dog, if anybody who's watching this, you live in New York City, if you get a dog, the first thing you do is buy your neighbors a cheesecake. Done. Get that out of the way, because you are going to be disturbing their sleep. There is no question. Let them know now. They're going to find out later. No use in hiding it. You buy them a cheesecake. They say, oh, we totally understand. I appreciate it. That'll get them through a couple nights. But the problem is dog freaks out. We're worried about getting evicted. Oh, my God, we got a complaint. Oh, dog slept fine on the bed. There went the whole crate training piece. How did your dog crate trained? We tried it. Your dog was crate trained in the rescue that you got him from. You know what I mean? He traveled here in a crate. Like, you know what I mean? So,
well, and some people, they'll, like in the urban area, I'll be like, all right, board and train for 2 weeks. They can bark all they want here, man. And let them realize that that's not, and that's where an option for people that may be in an urban area. Like if the crate is a big problem, that maybe you can, but guess what? When it comes back home, not the same, dude, because they're going to fall back in, just like a drug rehab, right? If we take a drug, somebody that we just took to rehab, and then we took him right back to the same corner that he hangs out with, that he always used with, that he always, guess what? And the same people, same routine, same everything, right? And so the first thing that I do is try to move that crate into a different room, or try to switch it up for that dog, so the dog kind of knows that this is the same but different, right? And then and then I have protocols of correction when that dog barks, so that dog knows, hey, it's, shut up, right? And sometimes that dog needs to know shut up, and sometimes that dog needs to know bark all you want, dude. You're free to do and be crazy. But especially,
I think different dogs respond differently. So I've had dogs where you could correct them, they shut up, okay. But then I've had dogs where
they fire them up
just too. Makes it worse.
Yeah,
it just makes it worse. So it's it's tough in New York City. It's not easy. Someone and people are gonna make fun of me for this. It's fine. Sometimes I tell them, take the crate first night, put it on the bed. Second night, put it a little further, on the edge of the bed, and then the fourth night, put the crate on the floor. It works. It's just
I feed them in the crate too. I'll feed them in the crate. I'll put like you said, that raw sirloin, or put something very high value in that crate, and then I'll shut the crate without the dog in it, and let the dog stumble upon it. I don't want the dog, like the dog's out on a walk or playing or something, and I'll have somebody load up that crate, or I'll load it where the dog doesn't see me, and I want the dog to kind of stumble upon that crate, and so it's their idea. Anytime that we train, just like I was saying, put the dog in a situation where they correct themselves. Put the dog in a situation where he just found a treat sprouting machine, right? Imagine go ahead.
You took away the social pressure of me trying to get you in the crate, and you made it your own decision.
That's right.
It's
And
know,
so,
it's perfect.
and then structure it. Oh, I see that you want in this. Is that the case? And so we ask for the consent. And then I'll say, okay, can you sit? Wait. Easy. Open that door, shut it right away. Nuh-uh. Easy. Open up that door. Good dog. Shut the door. Let them have their moment in the sun,
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and that's where, like, you just have to kind of and think of the antithesis of what's going on here, right? But I also like that. Now, what about bathrooms out on fire escapes or anything? Do you guys or like litter box training dogs or any of that stuff? Do you do?
Let me tell you something. Housebreaking a dog in New York City is a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like you got to go down elevators, stairs. It's terrible. I had trouble Saga. I sent this. I went on vacation. I sent it to somebody for 2 weeks. I said, "Do me a favor, make sure she's housebroken when I get her back." It's just it's difficult, especially in Manhattan. Well, no, anywhere where you live in a building, it's just
you got to
really
walk
tough.
outside. You got to stand and wait. You got to ride
We
the
don't have
elevator
grass.
down.
We don't
We
have
don't have
grass out
grass.
front, so it's they have to pee on the cement.
So how do
You
they?
know?
How do they? Hey, Jackie, and Jackie just came one of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Jackie. I mean, how do you entice them? Or do you just wait
They
until
have to go. You have to. They have to go. They have to go. It's literally they have to just learn this from the beginning. Saga has been conditioned to pee on the crates, the grates that
Okay.
go above the subway. She just pees right on top of that. She goes right there, and that's like her grass. The grates for the subway.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is what it is. But it's like I said, it's a different world.
And there's more dogs per capita than any other place in the world.
There's nowhere else that has more dogs.
That's so wild. So what kind of special things do they do for the dogs in Manhattan? Do they do like dog
Nothing.
parades or like? I heard
They
that
have
there's certain
events. You got
like
nothing that other places
unspoken.
don't have.
Like there's now what are the off leash areas and like I've watched this. Most parks are off leash.
Most parks between I want to say up to 9 o'clock. I think it might be up to 9 a.m. or maybe 8:30 a.m. something like that, and then like around 7 p.m. So those 2 times you'll have off leash hours. Central Park's a zoo with that. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Is what? So, they have so many?
Central Park is a zoo with that. With those off-leash hours.
They have so many dogs that are off-leash?
Oh, yeah. You go to Central Park at 7:30, 8 a.m. any weekday morning, you'll be in heaven. You'll be like, there's dogs everywhere. It's beautiful.
I want to go. Do you have any videos of it on your
next time
TikTok?
I go, I'll definitely send you a video of it. It's gorgeous. I'm like, wow, So
yeah, send a video. Go and I want to go to that, but I'm looking for you. Who's a Good Boy Industries? I just found it right here. So, and I'm not even logged in here, but I want to show people this because, dude, you're doing really well on the talk. Right?
The talk, yeah.
So here it is, man.
What's that? There you go.
Can you see it?
What was the first post that you noticed?
Oh, I don't even know. Let me I just thought I joined it and I just see some people on there. But let me think, man. I mean, there's some good ones. I mean, but I think it was just it was the one with her running in the freaking park here, man. Let me find that one. Where you go to that park. What's that? Was that a story? Was that today?
Yeah, I think if you scroll to the top.
Competing for your dog's love.
No, yeah, you may have to be logged in to see the story.
I don't even know how to log in on the computer here, but check it out, you guys. Who's a Good Boy Industries.com. Here, we can actually go here. Well, hold on. I can go to this screen over here to show your website as well.
Appreciate it.
Of course, man.
That thing hasn't been updated in 12 years, so nobody read it.
Wait, is this it? No.
No, that's TikTok.
No, it says it asks me if I want to open it anyway. So there I had to do that. And then let me do it again because now I'm here. Check it out, you guys. Who's a good boy industries.com. Your dog will finally have an answer to that one burning question. Who's a good boy? But what if it's a girl?
Well, no, hold on. I got an answer for this. If you go to my frequently asked questions, that's the first question I answer.
Where about or facts here?
Where is it? Yeah, there it is.
Okay, there we go. Oh, who's a good girl?
I'm not lying.
Dude, I'm not going to Google it.
If you Google who's the good girl, it does not hit the canine target market. I'm going to tell you that right now.
That's it. Probably.
I'm just throwing that out there.
A little seedy market. 16 years. Our strategy is based on the concept of emotion-derived behavior, just like we were talking about. Help the dog in an emotional state. Manhattan,
I don't
Queens.
even remember putting these here. I don't even know what they say.
Awesome. Here we go. No board and trains. I don't do board and trains either. Fill out an application. Fantastic on the website. Be contacted 2 to 5 days. You guys in Manhattan area, this is here we go. I mean, and then we have some purchases here. Cool, man. You do a 20-foot long line. We got our friends at ICP. Let's see up here too.
Oh, don't even bother with that. I got to change that whole thing. I got to change that whole thing. Yeah.
And then we have you have a members thing, huh?
Well, we're working on it. We're working on it.
So are you guys hiring dog trainers?
So I have people that are in different states.
Okay. Like a franchise type of thing or licensing.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, that I believe that's the dog trainer application. So if there's a dog trainer that wants to do a Zoom session, they fill out their application. Dog and people that are obviously pet owners will fill out a different application.
Beautiful. So, I need to do this with my side. I need to revamp everything.
I do too. There's so many new dog trainers out there. And the problem is with all the new dog trainers, they're just a lot of people are getting misinformation.
Yes.
Because a lot of these new dog trainers are just learning what they're told rather than wanting to learn themselves. And that's a dangerous game. You know what I mean?
How so?
Well, because if you're just learning what you're told, very often you're focused on a method, not the concept.
Beautiful.
You'll be told something, you won't understand why. So, for example, let's say somebody says to me, I don't like muzzles being on the dog, right?
Okay.
Why? Because
Hannibal Lecter.
Well, I could sit here and say, I like not having muzzles because it keeps the people honest. Well, that's easy if you're told that. But what does that mean? Right? What does keeping honest mean? Well, it actually means that I'm probably going to be more mindful of my movement. I'm probably going to be as predictable as possible. I'm probably going to make sure I'm reading the dog, reading his signs because I don't want to get bit,
Not moving too quickly,
Exactly. All of that stuff may not be covered if you're just learning what you're told. You may just know, I just keep it honest. There's methods are interchangeable. But if you understand the whys behind everything, and a lot of times you can't get that from just being told something. There's too much detail in everything.
Well,
that's how I feel.
And this reminds me of The Matrix. So The Matrix part 2. What is it? Let me see here. Is it part 2? Matrix Reloaded, Merovingian. I've got a Merovingian here. Yes. So the Merovingian is basically, or the key master, right?
Yeah.
And the Oracle tells Neo, you need to go up and get the key master to make a key.
Remember that?
And then the key, he goes up there, and the key master is like, why? Why do you need me to make the key? And Neo says, I don't know. The Oracle told me to come here, and he
Exactly.
laughed at Neo. He started laughing, and he's like, "You're a foolish man. You have no why. You have no power. You're spinning your wheels in causality, coming up here, not even knowing why you're here in front of me." And he's like, "How stupid is that?" Right? And so the why behind it is the power that you have. And if you don't know the why, you're not really anywhere. You're kind of floating. And
Exactly. I've never anything I've learned from somebody specifically, it never went anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, this is great. I can't wait to try this. This is so cool. But it never went anywhere. Anything that I've learned, because I learned it myself, whether it was working with a dog or it was reading something, all of a sudden an aha moment or whatever, I was able to implement that in so many different aspects and be creative because I was like, this is mine. I get it. You know what I mean? It's just different. You know, now there's things that I've heard people say, little like one sentence. I'm like, oh my gosh, would that resonate with me? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're getting all, you know, anybody, all my apprentices, whatever, I always recommend them to take courses. Take a course, learn, you know, just, I mean, you don't have to, but don't learn everything from me. What if I said something I'm wrong on? I realized that like 6 months later, maybe I misunderstood something, you know? I mean, it's possible.
It requires an eclectic knowledge base, and there's pearls everywhere, dude. There's pearls everywhere. Right. And not only that, but I also tell people, like, just on the, I mean, I encourage them, but on the flip side too, I'm like, give yourself time to process and don't just go gung ho and teacher after teacher. Oh, I just got a question. Or is Jack around? Unfortunately, Jack is in heaven. I had to put Jack, one of our dogs, down. I believe it was last year. Well, it was last year, I know, and God bless him. And I did well. Yeah, he did awesome. He was but he was ready to go. I mean, Martha, he told me it was time I have a little conversation with all my dogs, and I never falter them when they say that it's time for them to go home. It's a gift. I tell people what a gift we can give our dogs to end their suffering after all they've given us our whole lives, right? And so, yeah, it's hard, man. It's so hard, but it's worth it. At the end of the day, everything's worth it, you know.
I got an 11-year-old that was just told that told by the vet she's probably got a few months left. I mortified, you know what I mean? First dog that I'm going to go through it with, but exactly like you said, like I'm watching her, and the day that she's going to tell me, I'm going to show her a bone, and she's going to be like, I'm not up for it. I'm like, it looks like you're getting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's still good today, you know, but every day we're looking at it and measuring it every day, seeing how the dog's responding, making sure, you know.
Well, and know that there's time enough to grieve her when she's gone, and a lot of people borrow time and we grieve the dog when they're sitting right there. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help, dude. It doesn't help in the long run. And so as soon as you start to see and look at your dog, even though if we know of their imminent demise coming around the corner, we still appreciate their presence all the way up to the end. Because when they're gone, you have enough ample time.
It's such a good freaking point. You know what I mean? And I was actually thinking about that today. I was playing with her and this and that, and I was, you know, exactly that. I was trying to have a good time,
As soon as that stuff starts creeping in, a lot would be like, no, she's right here. No, I'm gonna not do that. I am gonna love her, right? And then when it creeps in, when she's gone, then we can be like, okay, she's fucking gone, and God bless her. But the other thing too is that when she does complete this life, that now we have the whole life of her to celebrate instead of points of a conscious mind that we prefer over other points, right? And so now we can celebrate her experience and her existence as a whole, and that's beautiful. And I'm here for you, bro. If you ever need anything, man, I don't care if it's 3 a.m, you call me, because this is what I do, you know, and I help people with this. But it's something that
it's a tough thing.
Well, it's also something that we're gonna dance. That we're gonna dance this dance as well, you know.
And we're so crazy. You know what we do when one dog passes? We get another one.
Yeah.
I get another one
running around here that I'm just crazy to begin with, right? And there's value of I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to have this many dogs ever again. And because I kind of wore myself a little thin, and I learned that I was wrong. And that is something that we as individuals, it's one of the most powerful things that we can say, is I was wrong, right? Because it takes our ego to kind of, and that introspection. And a lot of times that doesn't feel good when we do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about her, but
hey, it is what it is. But it's good for me to hear like things like what you said. You know what I mean? It makes so much sense. You know what I mean?
Love her.
Don't grieve her while she's still here.
It doesn't help. It does not help one bit, man. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see if my wife can grab pecans back here. I put her back in the crate because I knew that she would bark her head off, and now she's back here barking her head off. So, but I don't have any neighbors. So, upkeep. Do you do, like, I saw that there's a membership site. Do you do like members or what?
I'm not there yet. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a membership for remote coaching, constant feedback and so on and so forth. Where I'm going to have what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have all my apprentices run that. You know what I mean? So, and that's going to be me giving them feedback and so on and so by the advice they give others, and but they have to be at a certain level to be able to answer questions. I'm not just going to put anybody in there. And once they get to a certain point, my apprentice program, I'm not doing like basic Zoom sessions anymore. It has to be a lengthy process now. You know what I mean? Just because there's too much. You know what I mean?
It's too involved, and as the process grows too, like you encounter cases that bring out new questions, right? And now, what about your clients? How do you keep in touch with them?
So basically what I do is once we have a session, they get notes, right? That, we put together. And then somebody in my team will create a group chat on WhatsApp, right? That third party messenger WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And there'll always be me and another trainer on that chat. So whenever they have a question, they can just send it through. And when we have time, we'll answer that. Because they're going to have a random question at some point. And then every now and then we'll say, hey, could you send me a video of where you're at? And then we get to give them feedback.
And you use WhatsApp for that, huh?
Absolutely. Because the videos don't store, data. Like it's, you know what I mean? And it's just easier.
Cool, man. Yeah, I got WhatsApp right here. Yeah, I'll do that myself. Now, do you ever do, I see some recommended equipment and stuff. Do you ever send them like a list of prerequisite stuff that they need for the first lesson?
Yeah. So that first email is gonna have everything they need.
Okay.
Every dog is different. Sometimes we're telling them to get orange cones, fish oil. We're telling them to get, all random stuff. You know what I mean?
So you customize it per case.
Yeah. It's
That's
pretty
awesome,
much customized. I mean, you have your basic concepts, like there's always going to be spatial boundaries. We're always going to have consent. We're always going to have a nice, first 7 days of eliminating social pressure. If it's fear aggression, the cases that really differ would be resource guarding. Okay. That's a whole different thing. That's not the normal, protocols that we would use, because I don't know how often, how you feel about it, but for me, every resource guarding case I've ever taken is its own case.
You better believe it. And it could be they're guarding something of value. They could be they're guarding space. It could be, oh my God, dude.
It doesn't work the same, Do
you want to hear my latest one?
Yeah.
So I have my clients type up, because I like to sit there and I like to read through everything so we can make sure everything gets addressed, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, just making notes, like just conscious flow of consciousness, but also I want you to start writing down questions. So when I'm there, we get everything addressed, we get all the questions answered, and I want to make sure that everything's covered, confidently. And I'm reading this note, dude, and it's like, and it was, this is horrific, by the way, everybody. So I'm reading the note, and the dog that I'm working with, the mini Aussie, that's super neurotic and reactive.
Oh God, I'm sure.
And it went and got a used tampon and took it to his crate. and guard. And dude, I'm sitting there reading this out loud, and in front, I'm just like, like I just couldn't even, dude. I just couldn't. I had to maintain like this, just literally. But I was just like, oh my god, dogs, dude, dogs. And I'm like, this happened to me when I was in, not to me because I don't, but my sisters, we were all out there, and a dog comes running out with one of them things and spits it out, right? And then everybody's screaming and stuff. So, but that was my, as a trainer, you guys are going to come up with some unique situations, unique cases, and sometimes they kind of hit you from,
Let me tell you something. I have an emergency call program, right? You call me, it's a fortune. I'm going to drop everything and I'm just going to go to you, right? Doesn't matter what I'm doing. And then you also have to purchase 4 sessions with that. It's a whole thing. So I get this call, Jacksonville, Queens. I'll never forget it. I shoot over there. They were about to walk the dog outside, and then the dog, they were like, oh, you should get some treats. So they drop the leash. They go to get treats. They come back. The dog is at the front door of the apartment guarding the leash. Those people missed work that day. The more they tried to get the dog away from the door, the more amped the dog got and aggressive dog got. Dog snapped at them a few times.
What kind of dog?
It was like a Dobie mix, like a Dobie Pointer mix.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was horrible.
Just high strung. Yeah.
No, it's terrible. So they call me. I race over there. I can't get in the door because the dog's at the front door. I have to go up the fire escape. So I go up the fire escape. I go through the window. I have my bag. I'm like, okay. So they're like, what do we do? I'm not making this up, by the way. I'm looking at the dog and I'm like, we're not getting this dog away. Like, this dog has been on, like, its eyes are red. It is like drool. It was not. So I said, I need you to go. If the door was right here, right? The hallway, and then you could see the bedroom. So right by the door, you could look at their bed. So I said, I need you to go in your bedroom, start jumping up and down on your bed, singing Disney songs while having a pillow fight. He thought I was crazy. I said, get the fuck in the bed. Okay. They started doing it, and within seconds, the dog races over there to join the fun. Guy is pissed at me. Why did you tell me to do this over the phone? You would have hung up on me. What do you want from me?
Well, I had to be here too to see what I'm dealing with.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Like, I don't know if this guy's like serious. And some people's like that when they say aggression or whatever, I'm just like, this dog is scared out of his mind.
Exactly. But this was, I guess, one of those shifting resource guarding cases. Those are always a nightmare.
Dude, and it's like sometimes you just don't know what. Sometimes those dogs are just wired different, dude, and especially those Dobies and those and it's like they get that little chirp 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 like bitey chirpy kind of weird.
Yeah,
when they get like overwhelmed or super excited or like I remember this other Doberman that I had. I'm like, what's that noise? And it's his teeth, and he's like as we're starting to approach. This thing that's just like driving him nuts.
Like the mouth.
Totally, dude. And I'm just like, what is that damn noise? And I'm like, oh, damn. We're dealing with the nut job here. Like, that's what I was like thinking. I was like, and the guy's just like, the dog's like, and I'm just like, oh, okay. This is what you got a nut job, dude. Like, you got a full on drug addict. Like, that's like addicted to his own reaction here, man. It's a very, what I call a ritualistic type of response that has just gone up off the dick, right? And we need to get them back to a place, and then we recognize the thresholds of when it started, and that's kind of where we start, in my opinion, right? So we can work with it at a 2 before it gets to an 8, and then we can show the dog a better option, and then let the dog start to discern. And as time goes by,
like you said, it's we don't know. And we don't know how serious it is. It's always different. Sometimes it's so serious you're uncomfortable because you're gonna do a session, you're gonna go home, you're just like, I don't feel comfortable about their safety. It's like a lot of management protocols.
Yeah, dude. And Heather Beck calls those slow moving car wrecks.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
dude, I have to like, there's some people I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you have this dog? Right? Remember when we were just talking about the why? Right?
Yeah.
I want to know. And if they don't have a good why, I don't know if I can help you, man, because you don't really have a good why. Like a lot of times, I've had a lady that had a wonderful why. She had this Rottweiler that was just out of his mind, and she just got divorced from an abusive relationship, and that was a good why, man. And I was like, okay. I was like, did he abuse this dog? Because this dog was. A lot of people tell me that this dog must have been beaten by a dog or anything. I can tell when a dog's been beaten. Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
different.
and it's totally different. Like a lot of dogs when they cower and stuff, that's a normal reaction for a dog.
It's appeasement. It's
Yeah,
appeasement. It's good what
appeasement.
they do.
That's right. But when I go up to a dog's head and they flinch, and blink, and do that crap, I'm like, somebody smacked this dog a bunch. And that's what the lady was like, yeah, that's how he would punish him. He would just smack him. And I'd be like, okay, that's not okay. And I'm glad that you're away from him and I'm here to help. But then the bad why, that's a good why, right? Is getting out of an abusive situation so that we can make our life better and this dog's life better. And I'm all about that shit because we're taking a sad dog and making him a happy dog, just like my man Brett here does. But
That dog's happy.
sometimes we have a why, like a lady that I don't know. I just this dog was lost at a skate park, and so I took him home a couple of years ago, and he's already bit 6 people, and I told me I have to put him down, and now I need you to help me so I can keep this dog. And I'm like, later, I can't. I'm sorry this dog has to pay for this situation, but I don't want anything to do with it. A lot of times, I mean, sometimes if they're, I don't know. I'm like, why the hell is it got 6 people down? It's like that just comes up with 20 more whys, right? And I'm just like, okay, like those really have to be in alignment before I start. But it's usually no. It's usually a big no, It's like
the problem is a lot of people will take cases because of their egos and they just want to feel like, yeah, I can help you, and it's not. We all have to be honest and responsible. You know what I mean? Do you feel comfortable taking this case, going home at night, that they're going to be safe? It's a big deal. It's a question. You know what I mean?
It's integrity of our industry as a whole.
Absolutely.
And that's why I interview people, is because I want people. There's some shysters out there, man, and I want you to know that if you see me interviewing somebody like Brett, then they're good. They got the kind of this
appreciate that
seal of approval because I trust them, I know them, and they've been around a while. Like, and that's the other thing too, is just and to be able to sit here and watch me in my gaudy shirt. That's my friend Punty made.
Jealous.
But to just sit here and just chat and be able to bring about people and but to watch them speak, like watch Brett speak about this, you can tell when people know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
When people don't either, when people are talking out their ass.
People out themselves so fast, and a lot of times when you're talking to that person, it's embarrassing. You don't really want to call them out, but you're just like, shit.
That is so. And you're like, what did you just say? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we sound like. I had a conversation like that 2 nights ago with somebody, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be in this conversation. It's uncomfortable.
So speaking of hiring you, how do people hire you?
Oh, to go to my website, they fill out an application, somebody in my team calls them, and that gets expedited. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And not just for dog lovers or dog owners, but it's also for. So do you do consulting calls for dog trainers? I do, as well, and I do dog trainers. I train dog trainers. I train my clients on Zoom, and even business calls. Everything, I'll do it all.
Here's the thing: we all have our niche, right? Like, I'm sure I can. There's an insane amount I can learn from you that I have no idea. The only thing that I can offer people is how to help a dog with extreme emotions in extreme environments. That's all I got. You know what I mean? If you have no choice but to have that dog go past threshold every single day, and there is no control and distance, I can help you. You know what I mean? But other than that, you're wasting your money with me. But that's,
I like it. It's a niche though, man. It's a niche that's needed, and exactly where you're at is tailored perfectly for your environment.
exactly.
And you're providing people what they need, that happy existence, that life that they want with that dog, and I couldn't even, that's why I'm so curious just to come and shadow and just like watch and see what people do and how people respond, and eat some good food, of course, but
yeah, of course.
But
Here's the deal. It's what's funny. It's like a lot of it's not as exciting as we think it is. A lot of it is really just
fundamentals.
It's not the hour or 30 minutes that we're training the dog. It's the other 23 hours of the day.
Yes.
So I have them. That's what I'm really. I give them a few exercises, but I'm not giving them more than 3 exercises. But it's not a lot of it's just remember. Classical conditioning is happening all the time, right? So if we're just making
the environment,
yeah. So if we're making a dog feel good, and if we're doing that everywhere, little by little, the more you manage a dog, if I'm managing a dog so he doesn't lose his shit, the more the neural pathway in the brain isn't traveling to that emotional system. So we're eventually not going to default there, right? And it is traveling to a better place. You know what I mean? So, and then play we will use as a measurement of how the dog feels.
Well, and now we're establishing a different 8-lane highway, like that super highway because the dog's experiencing this over and over again. Exactly. But we also have to realize that old highway is still there, right? It's still there. It's not, we're not erasing that. Like that's still, and then that's where that management that Brett is saying is like, there is a management aspect to this.
So right. I look at it like a snowy field. Pretend the brain is a snowy field. Okay. I walk across that field. You get to that field. You're going to see steps. You're going to walk across where those steps were. Somebody else comes. Now everybody's walking the same footprints. And now you have a clear path across the snowy field. Now let's say that path was rage. And I say, that's seeking over there and play over there. Walk over there. But there's no path. Now we have to go. So now let's say somebody walks that path. We get to the brain again, the field. This one's clear. That only has a couple steps. People are still going to want to take the clearer path. We have to get that path clear. What I do with my clients, and any dog trainers that are watching this, I recommend you do this, unless they are. I have a chart I give them. And they have to write on the chart the date and time that the dog went over threshold and had an explosion. And then the other piece of the chart on the other side is how much enrichment they've provided. Just a check mark. So then when they call me up, they're like, my dog had an explosion. What's the score? That's what I say. What's the score? Oh, it's 2 to 3. What the fuck you mean 2 to 3? It should be 2 to 10. For every one explosion that dog has, we are providing 10 things of enrichment. We are aggressively activating that part of the brain for enrichment. You know what I mean? So, and if you're sitting here countering every explosion, because what happens is the dog has an explosion. It doesn't come down. It has an explosion Monday. It's staying up here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It may come back down here by Saturday, but it's not at homeostasis yet. So what happens is the dog has an explosion on Monday, and then Tuesday a little reaction, Thursday a little reaction. Then, Friday, it loses worse than ever. Friday was just an extension of Monday. Yeah. We never made the dog feel better. And that chart helps everybody with accountability. They're like, all right, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to do some scent work. We're going to do some urban agility. We're going to do, whatever. We're going to do some play. But whatever it is, make your dog feel good. That's it.
Yeah, connect. I love it, man. And not only that, but it gives you some introspection, and not only that, but also a little path of what's happening, right? A little like a way to observe the the blowouts, and then actually you're going to see that the good times outweigh the bad.
Exactly. If the good outweighs the bad, you're probably in better shape. But it's not 1-to-1. It ain't going to be 1-to-1. Not if this is not a clear path across that snowy field.
Yep, we got to have one person walking that path. The rage path is defined, but we need 10 people that we need to send to
Exactly.
the other path, not just one person to the other path, not just 2 people to the other path, like 10,
Exactly.
20
If we
people,
want to
30
resolve.
people, like, and then we come to the path and we have 2 paths. And
Clear.
then
Which one feels better? Which one feels better? That one, done.
That's
You know?
right. But this one, and then I'm like looking at it like, but this one's iced over, and this one looks like it's been traveled like
That's exactly how it is.
Right.
If it hasn't been traveled down, we've managed it that long. You're right. That path will be iced over. This one's
right.
more clear than that one, and that's how it is. Now here's the problem. Eventually, there may be a point you do have to correct your dog, and inflict some type of fear response or aversion response, whatever. The challenge with that is we now made it more difficult to go down that good path. Was it necessary? Well, if you're responsible, maybe it was necessary. But we have to understand that every time we have to correct our dog in these contexts I'm talking about, it makes it more difficult to go down that path. So if you, like I said, you want to correct your dog, that's fine, but be responsible about it. Make sure there's clarity and understand that it may take you a little further from your goal. So you have to provide even more enrichment and reconcile, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. But provide that enrichment and reconcile that is a trustworthy way. So when you do the correction, that it's received in a way that is actually beneficial, and that can happen. That's where people, like, once you start to establish this baseline of respect, when you do correct that dog, sometimes you're going to see that dog, that's what that dog was expecting this whole time, man. Brett. Because they're venturing out in the water, dude. They're like, it's getting kind of deep. This is, and it's a test. It's a test to see where boundaries lie, in human world, right?
Yeah.
And we're nurturers by nature, so we want to nurture and love and all that. And it doesn't feel good to correct a dog. It don't feel good for me, but doing what's right doesn't always feel good, man. Doing what's right doesn't always feel good. And I think that's what happens, is that this becomes so much of a feel good that sometimes with the boundaries that come in that don't necessarily feel good, but knowing the benefits of these boundaries is where we are fully competent and confident that this boundary needs to be set, i.e. a dog jumping out of a window, running into traffic, stuff like that.
Like I said,
boundary,
if we could sit here and say this will provide the dog a better life,
boom,
do it.
Easy choice, man. Then when that happens, it's easy choice. And then we also look at, I mean, there's people that are purely positives, and when we look at that, we look at the duration of when that behavior changes, and it is a lot of times unobtainable, and that's what people don't realize, is that correction brings.
I think anybody who's in the force-free community, if they say they never correct your dog, I'm going to tell you they're lying. Okay, they're lying, and I guarantee every single one of them has provided social punishment on their dog. If you've never told your dog, get the fuck off the counter, you're lying. You're
lying. From New York.
Like, you didn't sit here and say to your dog, get the hell away from the cats or whatever. Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, don't give me that bullshit. You're lying.
The dog's about ready to snatch off the freaking turkey leg off the table,
You trusted your dog too much and took the chicken off your plate. You just cracked your dog. Don't lie. I know you did. Don't lie. Like, what?
And if you did it, you need to.
Like, nobody's saying, because what's happening is a lot of them are thinking we're bashing fearful dogs and the dogs that carry. No. My dog sits here and acts stupid with my older dog. I'm going to tell him to cut that shit out. Like, what are you kidding me? Whatever. But get out of here. And the thing
just
is,
like if you're going to be being stupid with somebody, or somebody saw somebody being stupid with somebody else, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Or like one of your nieces coming out, or nephews being an idiot, or acting up in church, or a formal situation like a nice dinner or something. It's like, man, I'm not going to let this fly by, dude. Hey, look at me. Cut the shit now, dude, or I'm going to take you out. Like, and that's basically it. It's like, I'm not going to get crazy. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be confident, but this stops now.
And exactly. And the thing is like, I've done a lot of Zoom sessions with force-free trainers, and nobody's as force-free as they're not as force free as the balanced training community thinks they are. And a lot of them are very honest. They're like, no, yeah, whatever. I'm like, whatever. It's bullshit. There's extremists out there that are full of shit.
Of course.
And I think there's a battle in the force free community between the extremists and the people that are like, listen, we don't put ourselves in those situations. None of those people live in New York City. Done. And those people live in New York City, you know what they do? They work with obedience and puppies. That's it.
They don't work with reactivity. They don't work.
They're not. Yeah. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know who they are.
I mean, Larry Crone says it best. I think is like you can get behavior to start with the positive, but you can't get it to stop.
I mean, there's certain in New York City. Yeah. I mean, there's ways, but it's freaking tough. It's tough.
It takes a long time, a year and a half. Like it takes. Sometimes it's an unachievable timeline, especially when people want and need results to improve their quality of life as well. Where a good solid correction, a good boundary could provide that.
I actually don't perform corrections or punishment until like phase 4 in my program. So we do the spatial boundaries, we do the off switch, we teach behaviors, and then and it's probably like month 4. At that point, I'll proof if I need to, because I need the dog seek pleasure, avoid discomfort. I need them to seek pleasure before I teach them to avoid discomfort. Again,
yeah, makes sense.
If I'm sure other people have other ways that it works for them. I'm going to sit here and say I'm not good enough to punish the dog at first and with a happy dog. I'm not at that level. Like it's hard for me, and maybe it's because of my environment, but it's, ending up with that. If I punish the dog right away, and I got friends that do it, and they do it freaking good, and they end up with happy dogs, and I'm like, holy shit, how do you do that? But I can't, and I think it may have to do with my environment. I don't know. I can't. And plus, you're not punishing dogs on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah. You get the shame shammers. Yeah.
I'll be on YouTube, viral.
Yeah,
cancel.
Cancel this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, and that's it. It's like it needs to be done in an area that is a protected environment, even for that dog. And sometimes even with the correction, I'll charge up the correction as I charge up the clicker or anything else, right? And that's where like the dog sometimes needs to, kind of act up or whatever, and that's where we address it right then and there. And there's been other times where I've had like elderly clients where I'm like, dude, I'll take your dog for 3 days and we fix the problem because I've met the behavior head on in a way that this dog was like, okay, cool, I don't want to do that anymore, right? And it's usually coming after men or biting their feet or something like that, and I just have to show them, dude, that's not a good idea. And then once they get to the other side, I'm like, dude, this is a better idea. Come here, love up on me. Let's build some rapport here. Let's build, but that's because he's coming at me hot, right? And so I have to address that right then and there and just let him know that I'm not that dude, man. I'm not that dude, but I am this dude, right? And a lot of times they're just like, dude, the dog loves me. The dog loves me because he's just like, you're that dude, because I will protect that dog. And not only that, but now the dog sees me working other dogs, and that it's not just them, and that they're all being held to that same standard. And I think that they appreciate.
When you're working other dogs, and oh my God, that it's so helpful because you have like allomimetic learning.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The dogs learning from each other, and it's huge when you have like more dogs, and these dogs are responding. The dogs see you're controlling the environment.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And then I let them all off and play, man. And the ones that I trust, I'm letting them in that batch too. And I say something with every single dog. I take off that muzzle, and it's just been a ritual that I've done myself. And I say, "Don't make me regret this."
Right.
Because I know, and I tell them, look, I know that you don't like this on you, right? And I know that you don't. This isn't like this is a human contraption that's attached to your face. I'm going to get that thing off of you. I'm one of those trainers too that doesn't really like muzzles too much. I think that they can kind of be a crutch, right? That and that dog doesn't like it, and sometimes that muzzle can invoke a sense of that aggression or put that dog in a different mind.
Stress.
Right. That's right.
I mean,
I want to get that thing off as soon as I can, and I have the dog tethered, when I get it off in case in case they do make me regret it. But usually, do you know what they do? Especially when I say that, right? Because I'm up there and they're like kind of side eyeing me, right? And I'm like undoing the thing, and I'm like right about here. I'm like, don't make me regret this. And I try to connect with that dog and just be like, just put that energy of like, dude, I'm here to help. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here, you're here with me. So
yeah.
And then I've had a couple dogs that were a little hairy, but for the most part, they appreciate it.
No, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure you're doing amazing work out there, man. It's freaking awesome.
You're welcome anytime out here too, dude. Different world out here as well.
I may come check it out.
Yeah, anytime, dude.
It's probably like nothing I've ever seen.
No, you'll love it. You'll love it. We'll make it happen, Brett. Well, let's go ahead and sign off. I mean, anybody, I got your website, Who's a Good Boy Industries, in the comments here, and I'll sign off with you in the studio. But let's say goodbye to everybody here. We've been going for almost 2 hours, so
right. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Check me out on Patreon if you want to subscribe. But if not, I'm just happy that you're all here. Thank you for watching again, and check out Brett's work, man. He's a good dude.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.